Episode 2, The Search. We open with a thunderstorm. The rain is heavy, and the thunder and lightning are getting worse. Billy wakes up in the middle of the night in the woods. He's tied up, and it's raining out. We see him trying to get up, but he keeps falling back down, and we wonder why can't he get up? Things look very blurry, and then we zoom out on Billy, and his left leg has been cut off. Five years earlier, a few years before the apocalypse, Billy is in an alleyway. He lights a cigarette and he notices two guys that are about to go into a bar. But then Billy notices the two guys trying to take money from a girl. Billy notices this, and at first he thinks it'll work itself out. But then one of the guys hit the girl in the face, and then Billy runs up to the guys and he tries to attack them. The two guys beat Billy up, and then a guy in the bar notices the two guys beating Billy up, and he saves Billy by taking one of the guys and threatening him with his pocket knife. And he tells the other guy to back away from the kid. The other guy runs away, and Tom removes his knife away from the other guy and says that if he ever comes back to this bar again, or even talks to this kid again, meaning Billy, he won't like what happens to him. Tom asks Billy if he's okay. Billy says, "I'm fine, thank you. You really didn't have to." The girl walks up and says, "They still took my money." And Tom asks, "How much did they take?" The girl says, "Almost $150. And Tom says, as he gives the girl money, "Here's $300 for what you went through." And she says, "I don't know how to thank you both. You saved my life." And the girl says that her friends are gonna wonder where she is, so she's gotta go. Tom tells Billy, "You've earned yourself a beer, son." And Billy accepts. Currently, Lincoln and Tom are looking for Billy, but the rain is getting worse, and Lincoln says they can't stay out there for long. Tom starts yelling at Lincoln and he says, "You go back. I don't care. You don't even know us. If you want to bail, I get it." Lincoln says, "No, but being out in the middle of the forest with God knows what out here isn't the right way." Tom looks at Lincoln and agrees to turn back and to go back to the camp and think it through. They get back to camp, but Lincoln notices that the 4 cans of beans are gone. He checks, but he tells Tom, "We've been robbed," and says, "So first Billy goes missing, and now all of our food is gone." Lincoln says, "We'll figure this out, but we need to do this right." Tom tells him that he and Billy parked a car a mile away, and that him and Billy had food and supplies. They parked it there for the night, and started a fire here in the woods, but the car is still there. Lincoln says it's perfect. Let's use the car to get around faster and find Billy. Five years earlier, a few years before the apocalypse. Tom and Billy are having a drink at the bar. Tom tells him he's been breaking up fights at this bar for years now, so this was nothing. Billy thanks him and says he just wanted to help. Tom says it was nice meeting him, and Tom asks him if he wants to meet up next Friday for more bar fights. "I'll teach you how to break up a fight properly," he says. Billy laughs and says, "You got it." Billy leaves and Tom says, "Nice meeting you," as Billy walks out. Currently, Lincoln is driving and Tom is in the passenger seat. And Tom says to Lincoln, he's known Billy for a while. He's a good kid. And Lincoln says, we'll get him back. Even if we have to kill people to get him back, then we will. Tom asks Lincoln if he's ever killed someone before. Lincoln says, not yet, but I'm sure the day will come. Tom looks like he wants to say more, but then Lincoln notices a cabin up the road. Lincoln asks Tom, should we check it out? Tom says, anywhere Billy could be, I want to know. Lincoln says, let's go check it out. Lincoln walks up to the door. He and Tom slowly walk into the cabin, but then a woman, a redhead, with a black leather jacket, points a shotgun towards Lincoln and Tom, and she tells them, put your weapons down, or there'll be 2 bullets missing from my gun. Lincoln and Tom drop their weapons, and Lincoln says, we're sorry for running into you. We've been looking for our friend. Have you seen him? Tom says, he's 5'8", brown hair, younger dude. The woman says, no, I've never seen anyone like that. Now what do you want? Lincoln says he's sorry and that he didn't know there was someone in here. But then Tom looks down on the floor and he notices 4 cans of beans. Tom casually looks at Lincoln, and when the woman puts the shotgun down, Tom charges at her. He tackles her and starts yelling, what did you do to Billy? And Lincoln picks up one of the cans and looks at the woman who's down on the ground and says, you obviously robbed us, so now would be a good time to explain yourself. Lincoln tells Tom to let her go so she can explain. The woman tells them her name is Sydney. She didn't want any trouble, but she's being hunted by this man named Dave. He's crazy, she says. And my sister and me got separated after an encounter with him. Lincoln asks, is this man part of a group? And she says she doesn't know. Her and her sister were almost killed by this man, and she got separated from her sister in the process. It's been almost 3 days she's been looking for her. She tells him that she came across this campfire last night, and there was nobody there, so she took the 4 cans of food and took off. Lincoln puts 2 and 2 together and assumes she took their food while him and Tom were looking for Billy. Lincoln tells Tom he thinks she's okay and that we were in the wrong place at the wrong time. Tom asks her, are you sure you didn't see anyone that looked like Billy? But Sydney swears she didn't. But then Lincoln says to both Tom and Sydney, maybe the person that's hunting Sydney and her sister could also be the person that took Billy, and Tom says, it seems to be the only lead we got. And Lincoln tells Sydney, well, we've wasted enough of your time. And he tells her they're gonna go now. As Lincoln and Tom walk away from the cabin, Sydney says, wait up. She walks up to them and says, I know we just met, but if one of us finds this guy, then maybe we'll get answers to both of our questions. Both your friend and maybe my sister. Tom doesn't look so sure, but Lincoln says that they could use all the help they can get. So they agree to let Sydney join with them, and they all get into the car and drive off. A few hours later, Lincoln, Tom, and Sydney are in the car, and Sydney asks Lincoln, what were you before all this? And Lincoln says, what does it matter at this point, really? And Sydney tells them she was in the DEA before all this. And Tom looks kind of impressed. Then their conversation gets cut off by a voice on the walkie-talkie. Someone says, "I'm glad you three are all together now, so I can kill you all at once." Lincoln tries to pick up the walkie-talkie, but Tom takes it out of his hands and says, "You better not kill Billy, because if you do, I promise I will kill you." We have some awkward silence, and then the man says, "Try me." And we hear a gunshot over the walkie-talkie. And Lincoln, Tom, and Sidney panic as they don't know if Billy just got killed.